Welcome to How to Play Planet Unknown by Adam's Apple Games, game designer Ryan Lambert, Adam Rayberg. My name's Kelly Newman, and I want to show you how to set this game up and how to play the game. It takes place in the future when Earth's resources have been depleted, and humanity's only hope is through some brave planeteers going to transform some planets with the help of a company. Now, that's the basics of the game. Everyone gets to lay tiles at the same time. Whoever has the most efficient planet, which is shown by medals that you earn during the game, wins the game. Let's go ahead and take a look at setup. Setup for this game is really easy. You start with the space station in the middle, and it just pulls straight out of the box. This will be where you're pulling tiles from. Next, you take the depot indicators, one for each player, and place it around where they'll be drawing from the space station. Then you have the planet boards, and they got two sides on the planet boards, which adds to the complexity of the game, but it's recommended that you play with the universal side that everyone has the same. Same thing with the corporation boards, everybody gets one of these. They have two sides to them, but you'll want to stay on the side that's the universal side for your first game. And you want your stuff close enough to the space station because you'll be drawing tiles from that. So you have your planet board and your corporation board right next to each other. On the planet board, you're going to want to put your life pods, these little blue things, down on the little blue circles as you put them around on your planet. And then on your corporation board, you're going to want to put the resource trackers down at the bottom. There's 5 of them of different colors, from black, blue, red, green, and white. And you put those down at the bottom. And then that keeps track of your resources as you play the game. Lastly, you take your rovers and you put, for the universal side of the board, you have 2 rovers that you place at the bottom of your board. Next section is creating the Civ card decks. There's 4 different levels, and you have 1 card plus the number of players. So in a 4-player game, you shuffle them, you take 5 cards, and you put that in level 1, and you do the same for levels 2, 3, and 4. And as you progress through the game, you'll get different leveled cards which have different things on the backs of them. The next piece of setup, you'll be shuffling objective cards. Now this is between you and your neighbor objectives, so they're going to be to the right and left of you, so there'll be one between each of the different players. Now for the last part of setup, you put meteorites and biomass patches within reach of every player. And now you're ready to begin the game. What's great about this is that everybody gets to go at the same time. The commander will spin the space station, and wherever it stops, that's where they're going to draw from the space station. These are the tiles that you get to put onto your planet as you're developing it to become the greatest planeteer. And so you have your markers, and you get to choose, like the green would choose a big or a small. You choose a big or a small, and that's what you're drawing to put on your planet. You choose one, and then you figure the resources. Yellow then gets to go a big and a small. And purple gets a big and a small. And it's great because everybody's going at the same time. So it really speeds up the game and everybody's doing something. And the commander is the one who gets to spin the space station. The commander is considered first person and he gets this little token. And when you're done with your turn and everybody's done, you pass the token on. So it's clear whose turn it is to spin and while everybody's choosing. And as you pick your tiles, you want to remember these neighboring objectives because you are competing with each planet on either side of you. As in this one, whoever gets the most life pods gets the bonus points. So you want to keep that in mind as you're drawing your tiles because you want to try to arrange things to fit those objectives as well as getting scores up on your resource tracks. For the very first round, the first player, whoever has the token, is going to spin the space station, stop it where they want it, and then grab a tile. Now, they're going to take the tile, and they place it on their planet, but you've got to place it around the corners of the planet. The outside rim, the very first time you play the planet, has to go around the outside of the planet. Now, since I played a tile with the symbol of a meteor, I put a meteor on the tile, which we'll talk about later. That becomes end game if you don't clean them off of your board, and they're worth points at the end if you do. Now, I got to look at the tiles I played, because I played 2 different kinds. Now, each tile has 2 resources on it. The biomass resource, the green, I had one of those, so I moved that up 1. And since it also has the Civ marker, I moved the Civ marker up 1. after you place a tile on the perimeter, the rules are that the future tiles have to be placed adjacent to tiles already played in a single layer, no overlap. It has to be on the grid alignment, on the grid squares as you place your tiles. Now this tile has water and a rover on it. So I can place this down anywhere I want on the planet, but if it's not covering ice, I don't get a resource for the water. So I can place it there because it's adjacent and everything's fine as far as placement goes, but I would only get a resource, move up my marker for the rover. But if I place it down here, I cover up some ice. So I would get to move it up. Now, it doesn't matter that I cover up 2, 3, however much ice. You only get to move up 1 when you cover the ice, and then you put the meteor on it. Now, the next one is I get to move up the rover. Now, this is the first one that has an image on it. It has an image of a rover. Now, that means I get to take one of my rovers and place it onto the planet. Now I have to place it on the last tile that I just played, but it can go anywhere on there. And since meteors are bad, I want to place this thing on the meteor that I just played on this planet. So I take the meteor and I put it where I get the points off in the corner. Now, as you move up the resource marker tracks, there's different symbols for you to pay attention to. One of them, you see these gold medals all around on the map, and those are end game scoring. Those are the medals that show how efficient you were in making your planet. Now, this first one that you see on the Civ track has a number 1 on it. That means you go to the level 1 Civ deck, and out of those 5 cards, you get to look at them all, choose one, and then put the other ones back. So the first ones who get in there have a benefit there. Now the next marker you'll see on here is a little pinwheel with the different colors on it. What that means is you can move any one of your resource tracks up 1. So you could do it with your water, you could move it up 1, or you could move any of the others up 1. If it happens to land on another pinwheel, that means you're going to move another one up 1. Now on the biomass track, you will see a biomass patch, which is just a little square, not an entire large one, not one of the larger tiles. Now you get to take one of these, but you have to play it immediately following the normal placement rules. On the rover resource track, you see different numbers. Now the numbers indicate how much on the surface of the planet the rovers get to move. If they have a 1, then your rovers move 1. Only one rover would be able to move. Now if you were on the 2, then you could move each rover 1 or move one rover twice. Now the technology resource track, when you move up the different levels, so when you hit level 1, on the technology resource track, you get to get whatever abilities off to the side for the rest of the game. Like tile adjacency placement restrictions may be ignored, meaning you can place your tile anywhere on the planet you want when you have the level 1 technology resource track moved up. Now you get different things. When you hit level 2, now you may store the biomass patches that they get placed at the end of the game, so you can put these things down where they just fill in anywhere you want. And so they just get stored and you hold on to them. Then as you go up the different levels, there's different things that you get. So if you get up higher on the level on the technology, you get little bonuses as you go along. The last type of resource is an electricity resource, and it follows, when you place it down, it follows all the electricity around to the different resources. And what you get to do is whatever resource, you get to choose one of where the electricity follows. So if it goes all the way up to the technology, I could do that. I could also raise water 1. Even though it didn't get played on a water tile, you can move it up 1. You can also move up, I could have moved up the Civ marker if I wanted to. Anything that electricity train touches, you can pick one resource that it touches to move up 1. All right, now I want to show you a scenario when you're placing a tile. Now, it doesn't matter which side of the tile that you place it on. Like if I'm trying to place it here, I want to flip it over so that the water actually lands on some ice so I can move up my water resource. But if I place this down here, I'm going to destroy that life pod, so I can't rescue it. But I need to play it, so I'm going to destroy the life pod. Now, the key is the company doesn't care about the life pod. The life pod, they don't even tell you what was in it. Could be people, could be animals, could be plants, could just be refreshing the atmosphere so you can play your tiles. They don't tell you. All right. So I want to cover the ice. So I move up my technology 1. or my ice 1, and then my rover, I can move it up 1. Now, here's the thing. When you place a tile, if your rover's on the planet when you place the tile, then you're going to destroy that rover, okay? But since I had the technology where I could move my rover +1, I can move it a little bit farther. When you land on the meteors, or when you land on the life pods, you rescue them, and then they get counted for points later on at the end of the game. Now, remember, one of my competitions is not to destroy the life pods, but the ones I rescue, I could get a bonus at the end of the game going against the player that's right next to me. So that's a pretty big deal. So destroying it might not have been the best plan, but that's what I needed to do because I wanted to get this tile out on the space. And so as I start moving the rover, I want to rescue the different things. I could rescue this life pod over here instead. So if I did that, then I'm on my way to gaining that, and I get a point for it at the end of the game. So that's the way you move the rovers around. Now there's 2 ways that the game can end. One of them is when the space station, the two places holding tiles in the sections are empty. You just pick the last tile, so this is going to be everybody's last turn. Everybody plays, and then you start counting the score. Now the second way is if you draw a tile and you can't play the tile. So if you can't play it, then you get the resources that are on the tile, whatever it is that you choose. But if you can't play it, then that also signals the end of the game. Everybody takes their last turn. You do get to move up your resource tracker markers for the ones that are in your hand. You just don't get to play it on your planet, and that signals the end of the game. So either that they both are out in the space station, or that somebody can't play one of the 2 tiles that they can draw. Now after when everyone plays, then you got to do some wrap up. You look at your Civ cards, and if there's anything on your Civ card that says you need to play it, then you need to go ahead and play your Civ card. You also take your biomass patches and place them out. So your Civ cards might have 2 medals on them. You know, your Civ cards might have some medals and also advance a tracker up. So you want to move that tracker up to maybe get you some points, or if it helps you with your competition with somebody else in the game, then so it says have most resources maxed out. See, mine's already maxed out. If that needed to be moved up, maybe I would do that so that I could get the 5 points bonus. So I'm going to move up something to get points on it. I don't get to do anything on the planet, but I move 1 marker up. Then I do place my biomass markers that I've been holding on to since I had that since I was able to store them for later on in the game. So I'm going to take a look at these and see where I can place them to get the most points, because when I get completed rows, either going from the top to the bottom or from left to right, I get bonus points. I get more medals. Now for scoring, you want to be careful where you place those biomass patches, because you score medals for every complete row and column of your planet, as long as it does not have a meteorite or empty grid square. Each row and column scores 1 victory point, 2 victory points, or 3 victory points based on the medal to the side or above it. So as you're counting it, you want to place them where you can get the most points. And if I was paying better attention, I'd find that I have some really good spots. Like this one I put down, I get a completed row out of it, so I would get some points there. Now this one I wasn't really paying attention, and I put it in a row where it's not finished, and there's also a meteorite on it, so I won't get points for the row moving across, which I thought I would get a big bonus of 3. You go down the different rows as you have it all together. This first row is 1. It was completed, so I get a point. Meteor there, not completed. You get 2 points. Meteor not there, not completed there, not completed there. And you're just going to go down and look for every completed row. You get 3 for the middle ones, 2 and 1 depending respectively where your points are at. So then you go start going across and doing the same thing. And it helps that they have a really good score pad for helping you keep score as you go through and count the different things. Now look at your neighbor objective cards and see who's the winner. You get 5 points. If it's a tie, you each get 2 points. And you want to look at those based on just the person next to you that you were competing with. Any of your end game Civ cards that have bonus points on them, you want to make sure that you get those bonus points, move up those medals. You also, if it moves up one of your trackers, you don't get to do anything on the planet, but you start looking at your objectives. I have one that says if I have the most maxed out resource tracks. So that's what you'd want to move up. Or you move up one that puts you on a medal to give you some more points on the track as you move up. So that's a pretty good deal as far as one of those Civ cards go. And then if they just have 2 medals at end game, that's what you get. So now you just start counting up your medals. Like over here, I have meteors. I have 4 meteors. You round down. For every 3, I get 1 point. So I get a point for that. Then you just take a look at the different things that you get points for. Sometimes you have endgame cards that help. Here I have 3 points for life pods. Now if that was more than my other player, I also got my guest. Now on the tracks, you look at the highest medal that you either have covered or below, and that's what you get the points for on your resource track. So the higher those are, the more points you get for them. There you have it. That's enough for you to get started on Planet Unknown, and you can be the one that becomes the most efficient at saving humanity. Have fun.